Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Purpose for Life podcast. I'm your host, Suzanne Roberts, author of It's Deeper Than That, founder of Unifying Solutions, designer of Polarity System Design, and designer of The Great Reconnection, where we bring people along for transformation to vibrancy, purpose, and liberation. And I'm so excited to have Karen Hewitt here today. I want to say a couple things about Karen before we get into talking to one another. What I really love about this podcast today is that Karen's really going to talk about their evolution into being led by a deeper place, deeper than that place within, really being urged by a soul calling. And I'm just going to give you a little bit of background to that evolution, and then we'll lead right into it. There's so many facets to Karen, but we can start with a college basketball player to being a college basketball coach to getting a master's degree and then being chief of staff and then going into being an assistant to a nonprofit in an organization and then going into the corporate world and then coming out and launching their own business and then launching themselves differently as they evolve. So it's a continuing evolution. And I think the courage and fortitude to keep being true to oneself is what we're going to hear from Karen today. And I hope that gives you all everyone else to have the courage to do the same. So on that note, Karen, can we start with some of the things that you're passionate about now and what it takes for you to live into that passion today? Both of those things I want you to address. But the first thing I want you to talk about is who you are as a healer and how you want to contribute in a healing context.
Which one would you like me to answer the first?
You get to choose.
Okay. I'm gonna go with what I'm passionate about, and then I'm gonna ask you to ask that last question again. Okay.
Absolutely.
I am passionate in this moment about healing, about creating affirming cultures and spaces for the most historically marginalized, including my identities, Black, queer, trans, neurodivergent, mask of center, woman presenting, femmes. Like I'm creating spaces for people right now and, doing different projects that gets us all together in community. And that is watching people heal in those spaces has been life-giving to me recently. I'm passionate about art. I am passionate about people, and I'm passionate about healing right now. And it has been quite the evolution to it. But really enjoying living those passions out, as well as navigating the terrain of what it means to live those passions out.
Can you talk about, I'm going to use the words fortitude and courage that it takes for you to continue to let yourself evolve and be led by these passions?
I'll say this about courage. I was born, courage and fortitude. I was born with a dislocated hip. I had a full body cast. And legend has it that after I got at 6 months into having or 4 months into having the cast, I got it cut at the knees. And by the end of the day, that day I was crawling. And so I am no stranger to finding a way, making a way. As a professional, I'm always been the person that would find the joy in it, would find the positive in it, would laugh, would find the ways to laugh in things and through things, even when they were hard. And so for me, it's kind of a way of life. I don't know much different. Um, However, what's different about right now is the ability to look at all the things that I could do and say, this is where my heart is telling me to go. This is where my soul is telling me to go. And then pave that way. And that has caused and has been created by a lot of pioneering. Um, for me to be all these identities, it's not strange or new. I'm with me every day. But then I realize when I'm doing these things that often I'm the first of all of
Mhm.
these identities to be doing them. And I've had to go through many dark nights, and many of shadow work, and polarity has really helped me be able to sit still long enough to hear my soul telling me what to do. And that's what the call is. That's the call I can't ignore. That's what life is asking and calling me to do. And
Mhm.
I could say no. Um, but none of that makes sense if I want to live like we get one life. Like I'm gonna live in this body, in this human experience. I think we make choices and then we have a human experience. And the human experience I want to have is me, you know, creating as much safety and affirmation for people like me and people in
Mhm.
general, but people like me especially. And I'm gonna do that till the wheels fall off.
Really appreciate what you said because you could do so many things. I mean, you are a poet, you have poetry books, you are a performer, you are a singer, you are a storyteller. You also have HR skills and, like I
I
said,
do.
basketball skills. I mean, you have so many directions you could go, but to really choose to sit with yourself and listen and understand what's being asked of you, that is taking the cast off and crawling. It really is. A couple of things that I know that are crucial for you are connection and community.
Mhm.
And will you talk about how you understand connection and what connection has to do with healing?
We were never built or intended for the extreme and hyper individualism that Western society and European culture has given us. In all the tribal indigenous spaces, connection is often thought to be the only purpose of life, is to come into
Mhm.
life, have a human experience, connect to the people that you are with, and go on to the next thing. Every time I'm looking at folks, I'm aware that like I'm in them and they're in me and we're mirrors of each other. And I think we've really, really lost our way in terms of what it means to be connected, first of all, to self, right? Like there's a disconnect, a huge disconnect to self. And I think that is, we see the symptoms of that all the time with the violence, the hate, the rage, the anger, and the division. You can see with people trying to control other people and other demographics that they never come into contact with. Like those are all things that you can see in terms of not being connected to self. And then, of course, not being connected to each other in meaningful ways. Like a lot of our interactions are transactional. So for me with connection, especially with the HR piece, like I'm really about humans. That's
Mhm.
why it's not always easy to be in that space because oftentimes HR protects the company or the organization or the business. And so connection for me is intimate, it is vulnerable, it is it is the way that we were intended to interact with each other and ourselves and our souls and spirit and energy and source. And so that's how I feel about connection. And in community, the truth is, in community, there is a cost to everything, right? And so in community, the cost is frustration. Like you will have frustration because you're dealing with all of these different personalities and you're dealing with all of these different ideas and opinions and things of ways that they should go. But when you're connected to self, when you're connected to your soul and you're listening to your soul, and then you're going into spaces with other people who are in the same energy or the same vibration, and they're also connected to their soul, right? Then beautiful things can happen. But inclusion, I'll say this, inclusion, community, all of that takes time. It
Mhm.
takes time. And that is the one thing that I would say would be the most challenging thing, but you can only go so far alone. And I think that's an African proverb, if you want to go far or go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others.
Go together. Yeah.
Go together, yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
Mhm.
So you're talking about living in this world of and in a certain way,
Yeah.
because in the ideal community, everyone would be connected to themselves and care about connection to in a more, uh, I'm not going to say like vulnerable and caring way, like love.
Mhm.
Love would be included.
Mhm.
And that's not where most people are out at. So
Mhm.
the having the ideal of building community like that and understanding that there's going to be frustration, how do you hold the capacity to hold both of those things to allow healing and evolution happen?
The first thing I would say is like my mom and my grandma always used to say, live a little bit, just live a little bit longer, live a little while longer. And the more that I do that, the more that I live a little while longer, I'm able to have compassion and empathy because I'm just as messy and just as human. And the purpose on my life really is to heal all the things within me. I'm so impacted. Like I'm heartbroken every day right now.
Mhm.
And so I'm so impacted, and that love for people and everything comes into play here. And I have to do the work to make sure that I'm okay so that I can go share the tools and hopefully people can, add to their tool belt in terms of regulation in a really, really dark time. And that empathy and that having made mistakes and done a lot and messed up and succeeded and all those kinds of things really helps me look at people with a lot of love and empathy. And I'm able, like, I know vulnerability has its drawbacks, but for me, I'm willingly vulnerable, knowing that it might inspire someone else to do the same. And the more vulnerable I am, the more healing is available to me. And then the more healing is available to community when I'm in community with that mindset and that thought
Mm.
process.
Would you share your definition of vulnerability so that people can understand what that means to you listening in?
I love that question because, vulnerability, people will often like people think I'm vulnerable sometimes when I'm not. I'm just, sharing and I think it's comes with a cost. Like you have to risk something, um, criticism, uh, a hater. I don't know. You have to risk that being witnessed in that way and possibly having negative critique or feedback. And um vulnerability to me has to cost you something. Like it has to be something that you wouldn't normally
Mm.
share. And like vulnerability right now, I'm doing a campaign. I know we're going to talk about it. But having to say as someone who has raised, I mean, thousands of dollars for organizations and friends and people in need, to have to say, I'm in need now. I'm in need
Mm.
and I want you all to support me. That is probably the most vulnerable thing I can say right now because I'm so used to being a certain stature, a certain capability to be able to support others and dole out, resources and support for others. And so I think the vulnerability has to come with something, some sort of sacrifice, and not just something that, and you're the only one that's going to know that, right? Because people
Mm.
may deem what I'm saying vulnerable already, but there's another layer to that, and there's another layer to that. And so you have to see where your comfort is. And when you get uncomfortable, that's probably when you're getting vulnerable.
And sometimes when that discomfort arises, how do you use discernment to decide what's a risk that's a worthy a risk and what's a risk that maybe isn't wise in that moment?
As you were talking, my answer kind of evolved. So I believe we are here to have a human experience. I believe that our choices help determine what that experience looks like. So when I make a choice, first of all, I'm going to sit in stillness. With the, in polarity, in polarity system design, we're gonna cross our ankles and cross our wrists, and I'm gonna go into the root system and connect, ideally with you and other people that I know are constantly rechecking in on that connection daily. So I'm gonna sit there. There was a recent day I woke up and I was like, I'm gonna sit for 5 minutes. And so I sat for 5 minutes and my attitude was still terrible. So then I did 10 more minutes and then I did 10 more minutes. And then I was actually able to say, okay, what experience do I want to have? And because I had sat that long and really let my own energy work itself out, because it was not right, right? Like, so I was letting it work itself out. And then I was able to really see clearly about what
Okay.
experience I wanted to have. And I made the choices, and then I had an experience. And could I have had a different experience with a different choice? Yes. I don't really see it as the risk winds up being in the vulnerability, but the risk is also like, okay, I want to have this experience of being vulnerable. I want to have this experience of leaning on my community when they've leaned on me for a long time. I want to have this experience of, you know, anything, marriage. I don't want to have this experience of um professionalism, right? Like I want to have this experience with this organization or a client or a person. And I think that we have choices and
Mm.
we always have choices, whether that's, and like it's ideally for me, I know I'm at my favorite version of myself when it's an invitation from me, even to me, but it's an invitation to be a better human, to do something different, to have an experience. And I don't look back and think, well, what could have been I know I could have had different experiences if I would have made different choices. I didn't. So live in this one.
So when I'm listening to you, what I'm hearing is being deliberate and intentional to be still enough to see how you want to be available to yourself first and then how you want to be available to the world. And that's when I'm listening to you, that's what vulnerability sounds like to me. I do want to go into what you've been talking about, but I want to ask you another question first because you're talking about shouldering for such a long time for organizations and people and communities and family and friends shouldering.
Yeah.
And will you talk about the social shaping of shouldering for Black humans that you're disrupting in order to do something different?
So this one is interesting, and I'm going to go back a little history on my family. My family, my father's side was sharecroppers in Kentucky, Louisville. And I have an uncle right now, that is sick and quiet about it. I have family members that have lived quietly and died quietly and encouraged others to do the same. My mother will still say, "Well, what are you going to talk about when I have a show? What are you going to do your comedy on? What is your poetry about?" Basically just that worry of being witnessed and being seen because for so long, decades, it was better to be under the radar in terms of being safe. Don't bring attention to yourself. Don't draw attention to yourself. Just live quietly, get a good government job, and die quietly. And that was like enough. And I'm disruptive because I'm like, that's not enough. That's not even a life to me worth pursuing. Like you're just sitting there and letting life happen to you. And that I know that can sound judgmental, but to me, I know I'm disrupting that narrative. And I talked a lot with my father about this when he was passing in his last year of life. 2 years ago. He died a year ago. And so 2 years ago, we would be talking deeply about recording and writing his story. He started writing some stories. We would have some videos and tell stories because it was like these get to live on. These,
Mm.
these are what we have. There was I think a choosing point for him. I don't know if he knew it at that moment. I knew it at that moment, but it was like, oh, this is just like the 70s. I think that was the moment he decided like, I'm not here much longer. And I understood that. I understood that choice. But I'm like, I'm the kind of person, and that may be from athletics or grit or whatever, but I'm the type of person where it's like, all right, if we're gonna be oppressed, at least like let me live. Like, you know what I mean? Like if that's all the legislation that's coming down is full of hate and they've never met me and they don't know me. Um, I can still go in these spaces and find the spaces and find the people that I can curate beautiful and affirming experiences with.
So let's walk down the pathway of
Yeah.
what you're launching now. You've talked about, saying now I'm in need,
hmm
now support me. But it's way more than that. It's supporting something that's so transformative and changing and sustainable throughout history. I would say it's interrupting generational trauma and generating generational healing. And so will you talk about your project and what you're actually launching and why you're asking for support at this time?
This has kind of evolved into something way, way bigger than me, of course. Originally, I'm doing currently live recordings of our my podcast, The Culture of You. And I'm doing those at Zora's House, which is a wonderful Women Plus of Color incubator and co-working space in Columbus, Ohio. And I will have 1 to 3 people. And this season is centering Black women. So that is women assigned female at birth, folks, trans women, like that is women, Black women. And it is centering that. So there may be a guest that is not a Black woman, but they would be coming with a Black woman on her own request and invitation. So this is the season. And so as we started doing this, I went to a conference. I went to Azora's House, an annual, first annual Zora Neale Hurston Summit, and understanding how anthropological she was and how much of a storyteller and film and movie and editing, all the stuff she was doing and all the storytelling that she was doing up until her death. Um, it was kind of like, okay, this is a moment. I'm capturing this. We had so many views in like a week. We had, I mean, your and I podcast probably got like 105 like over since the course of it, since we've done it 2 years ago. That podcast has 100 views already in 2 weeks. And it was uh 3 very forward-facing leaders in the community, Black women who have been advocates, activists in queer and Black spaces. And it was like there were tears, there was laughter, there were stories, there were hacks, there were tools, and like the whole room, probably about 15, 20 of us, it was an intimate setting. Uh, we stayed after, we lingered, and it was just like, I needed that. And then there were questions from the audience, like, how would you suggest I move about this? And talking about all the things that we hit up against as Black women or Black women presenting folks in the community. Like when we have a conversation about banks, even working with, you know, Zora's House and like bigger entities, and they just had this $6 million building. It was the Jump at the Sun Society of all Black women leading the charge that got us to get that money, right? Like I'm a small number of people who got together and invested in that building. But like even now, getting loans and understanding the interest rates that we get and understanding like how that looks, it is quite the landscape of landmines. And just being able to be in a community of people where a lot of things are already understood and you don't have to explain them through is relief enough in and of itself. So what I've started to do, this is called Ain't I a Griot. The campaign is called Ain't I a
Will you
Griot.
say it again? Just slow it
Ain't
down.
I a Griot?
There you go. Say it one more
Ain't I
time.
a Griot? I'll say it with the French, Ain't I a Griot? Because I know there will be people that will look it up. It is pronounced griot in French. All along the transatlantic, we have all kinds of languages and influences, but culturally, it is griot, and it is West African, and it is someone who would be a poet, a storyteller, a musician, and they would travel around doing oral storytelling events, and they would capture those stories and then also retell them almost verbatim. I'm not going to do that, but I am going to film them and archive them so that you can see them verbatim. But it will be a collection of, we're going to do this for, 2 years and do monthly events. And so this will be 24 to 40 events where it is community highlights of people who are Black, queer, and or trans. And so we will be centering those identities individually and collectively, doing community highlights, having podcast episodes, having live storytelling events, streaming things as well. And as we all know, those things cost. And so I pay Black, queer, and or trans folks to do this work. I pay them to produce. I pay them to edit and engineer. I pay them to do my social media. I pay them to run my projects. My team is folks who could benefit from this. So it's not just about me. It never was. But now it's more about, I also pay my podcast participants. I pay my guests. because they're coming with a story that is probably priceless, but at least I can give you something for your time and your lived experience. And so it is turning out. I already have in 2 weeks of crowdfunding, I already have 3 people that want to collaborate and curate their story. And the most beautiful thing about it is when I'm sharing and I'm like, hey, if you can donate, because a lot of these folks are in the margins with me, right? So they may not be able to donate, but they're sharing with their networks. They're supporting it. And eventually they want to work with me to figure out how to tell their story. And that like this could go on until the end of my life and it still would not capture enough stories to me.
You've created a crowdfunding campaign
Yes.
to support this project that is so life-giving
Mhm.
and necessary, and the power of it and the archiving of it and the generational,
Yeah.
I don't even have the word, the generational,
I mean, it's wealth in its own right.
yeah, and generational pioneering
Mm.
in a certain kind of, it's another kind of pioneering, I would say, because I don't know anyone else that's doing this way.
This way, no. I mean, I think we all have our gifts. I would be remiss not to shout out the work of, Black Out and Proud in Columbus, Ohio. They have a storytelling series that they've operated under. There's also the Buckeye Flame, which is a newsroom, and it's Ohio's LGBTQ plus newsroom. There is Black Girl Media in Cleveland, Ohio, that is really centering Black women and doing great work there. And I also just got back from a conference in April with 60 Inches from Center. And that is an organization that works with journalists and artists to cover art events and make sure that they are covered and documented and written about and shared with the world.
So,
So,
Karen, tell me how this listening community can be part of forwarding this incredible project
sure.
and, support. Can you tell us what your fundraising goal is?
Sure. My fundraising goal is 25,000. Currently we have 2,700 raised in 2 weeks. So that's, successful. Obviously, the numbers we need to increase those shortly. So if you are able to donate, if that is your gift, if that is your have, if you will, then that is welcomed. And you can donate at a link. It's through I Fund Women /I A Griot, but we will provide that link for you. But that could be just a donation. There are also rewards there. So I can come do a fireside chat, right? And I could come do it for an hour or 2 hours. I could do a Phoebe assessment because I'm certified in the Phoebe, which is the focus energy based indicator, which talks about your 4 energy patterns and which ones you are most generative for you. I could go walk you through that. I could write you a poem for someone you love or yourself. Like there are a lot of rewards in there. Some people will just do monetary contributions for love. And then there are rewards that you can also pick up and pay for as well. The other things that you can do is go to my YouTube and subscribe because monetization happens after a certain amount of subscribers. You can if you want to collaborate or you know someone who has a story that they might want to tell in Columbus, Ohio, or beyond, have them get in touch with me and we'll start that planning in September. Um, Pass that along, right? If you have networks of people that are in media or that are doing this type of thing and you want to share this with them for whatever could come from that, please do that. So this is a call. It's not only a call for donations, a call to action for donations, it's a call for collaboration. It's a call for community. It's a call for people who have been looking for this type of interaction and energy and healing. So yeah, that's what that is. Those are the things that you can do right now to support it. Share it on your socials. Tag me, connect me with on Messenger, text me, like whatever that looks like. I'm really responsive. Um, and I'm having a wonderful time. hearing all the possibilities of what people are wanting to create, and even still just already doing it, because I wanted to create at least a couple episodes so people could see what I was talking about before. So go to the YouTube channel, look at the culture of pioneers, activism and advocacy in Columbus, and that episode alone should show you the kind of energy it is. It's an hour and a half. It's similar to a TV show, but it's really fun. It's really fun and it's really informative. So there's
So
stuff for you to see.
so it sounds to me like through this podcast, we've gone from connection. We started with healing,
Hmm.
connection, community, and then this passion project. And it's a synergy of all those things and all the creative juices that you have. And the YouTube channel is called The Culture of You.
Hmm.
And that's what you would subscribe to. And we'll have links here for you to
Hmm.
donate. And if you don't have it to donate, pass it on to people that you know. I've donated. Join me in donating.
Thank
And
you.
I will donate again uh, when the time's right.
Mhm.
And Karen, I want to thank you for being here on the Purpose for Life podcast. I'm going to leave you with one question.
Okay.
What do you think the purpose for life is?
I think the purpose for life is to have a human experience, to experience love in a human way, to live out your gifts and share them with the world, and reach the highest consciousness you can.
Thank you so much for being here. And once again, thank you for listening to the Purpose for Life podcast. And we're signing off now. Thank you.